Hi everyone. I hope you guys can hear me. Can you give me a heads up if you can hear me loud and clear? Awesome. Thank you so much for that acknowledgement. You can see thumbs getting raised. People are excited about this. I'm pretty excited. Actually, let's get started. So thank you so much for joining us and a very good afternoon to everyone. I hope you are excited for today's AMS session, and we will be discussing the frequently asked questions. We've gathered questions from you guys that have come across to our table. Now it's our turn to revert back to those questions. So we will be answering questions to problem statement under Next Gen Ventures category. So my name is Shakti Singh. I am your friendly neighborhood program manager at Aptoskill. So I'll be your host for today, and once again welcome you all to the third AMS session of ONDC Presents Build for Bharat. This initiative is supported by Startup India, sponsored by industry leaders such as Google Cloud, Protein, Antelope, ATM, and powered by Hyperscale. So today what we are going to discuss is more over questions on order management and inventory management for grocery, questions on onboarding sellers are two of the problem statement that we will have our mentor, our speaker guest today, who will be guiding us through these two problem statements and answering all of your questions that have come across to our table. If we find out the right time, if we find out a little space at the end, we might open up the mics for audience to have questions coming in live from you guys. So yeah, so we have with us today's guest speaker. Hi Nidhi, thanks for joining us. So I'll not steal much of your thunder, but let me just quickly introduce you to the audience itself. So Nidhi Sharma is the Vice President, Strategic Initiatives at Digital Transformation, ONDC, with over 20 years of experience in result-oriented and entrepreneur setup. She has worked across various levels in media agencies and MNCs. She has contributed additional 50% growth to businesses. She is a business-focused leader with hands-on experience in developing, implementing, enabling sales, marketing, building strategies across. That's something that I have read it through, but it would be best if you can hear it from our guest speaker altogether. Nidhi, the stage mic is all yours. Once you introduce, we'll switch on to the problem statements and we'll go ahead with the session today. Over to you.
Thank you, Shakti. Good afternoon, everybody. Shakti is already kind of giving you a little background of what I've been doing. I will share with you what I do here in ONDC. I come from a very different background. I come from a marketing sales background, and now I am part of a team which is looking at a population scale transformation on the small sellers part that we're looking at. So the topic that we are touching today, which is about onboarding sellers, inventory management, order management, is extremely close to my heart and very, very critical to the area that I'm looking into, because this is the key to success of what we're looking at a transformation. ONDC in itself is a big transformation that we're working on, and as a part of that, we are looking at solutions which we can take to these small kirana stores, small garment sellers, small pharmacies which are there, or small towns. More importantly, how do we get into tier 2, 3, 4 cities and enable those people to transact and adopt to e-commerce or digital commerce part that we're looking at. So this is why this conversation, and this is why I'm part of this conversation today, to help you understand some of the things that we have done, some of the learnings that I can share with you over here with the questions that you have put forward, and I look forward to a good interaction here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nidhi, for your quick introduction. So we have our guest speaker, we have the audience with us. Let's just get started, deep dive into the problem statements explanation. I'll quickly switch on to my slides and we'll discuss firstly the order management and inventory management for grocery. Nidhi, requesting if you can throw some lights and give us insights about what is expected for solutions for this particular problem statement into Next Gen Ventures.
Okay. So I don't know how many of you people have actually kind of interacted with a grocery seller, or as we call it, kirana here. The biggest challenge that today we feel, while the store owner understands their business extremely well, they've been in this for probably generations. Some of the people that I spoke to were in generations for like 6 decades and all. So they know their business the best. So they don't really feel the need of managing it in a more organized way. They know what they have to order, how much stock do they have, what pilferage is happening, how much is damaged, how much is expired. So they have a good idea. For them to move on to a digital format, a formalized way of doing this, is a big stumbling block or a change part that needs to come in. So what we are looking for over here is how to enable that behavior which is offline on an online thing with the minimalistic of disruption that happens in their way of working. So this is where we say the order management and inventory management for grocery needs to be done. So that's the kind of expectation that we have from the solutions that would be worked on in this case. Shakti?
Thanks for that insight, Nidhi. Let's just quickly discuss more about the next problem statement, and maybe we can take up the questions from there onwards.
Sure.
Onboarding sellers.
Okay. What we have seen and understood is that while there's a lot of interest in selling on digital platforms, they have, when you go to smaller sellers, they have a challenge of technology. They have a challenge of learning new systems and processes over there, and language. Another big thing that is a big problem, and that they are not able. There will be people who will not be so proficient in typing, entering data, etc. So what we are looking for is, and the other thing that I forgot over here is the KYC piece of a kirana. There has to be a KYC done for a kirana, which what we understood from different activities that are happening by the existing network participants is a long drawn process. There are documents needed by the kirana store that they have to upload to identify and tag the kirana over there. And they find it very difficult to get this information in simple, easy ways. So what we would look for here is, how do we do the KYC in the easiest format? So there's a validation that happens on the kirana store. Secondly, when it starts to be an onboarding process, what is the simplest way that the kirana would like to get onboarded to the network? Find it easy to use the solution, that they are able to actively use it and make best of the solution that help them grow the business that is there. So there's no order loss, there is no business loss. There's a business initiative that is looked forward for by the kirana. So those are the things that we would like to actually address through an onboarding process, which also enables people to understand on their own, can we have a solution which is so simple that I can, as a small kirana store owner, can download the solution and start onboarding my own self. So that could be one of the things that we would like to look, because onboarding about few million kiranas is a mammoth task, and it is extremely difficult for any one entity or 10 entities to take it and make it move forward. So the idea is to find, are there any self-usage that can work here? Maybe it is part of some piece, not the whole thing, but those little plugs then start to connect with each other, and the big chain that we're looking as a solution stack comes together.
That's a quick brief. Thanks for that, Nidhi. So we've just run through both the problem statements now. So we have collected a lot of questions coming in from the audience, Nidhi, for your background. So people, those who are selected Next Gen Ventures, have come up with quick questions that we have jotted down together, and I would be prompting those. If additionally people have any questions, you can write us in the chat box. If you find out the right time at the end, we can pick up those questions as well, and we can get those answered from Nidhi. So if we may begin, so let me just quickly get a few questions to your table from order management. So somebody has asked, what are the main pain points in existing POS solutions for grocery sellers?
So like I mentioned in the key part of it, it is the adoption of the technology that one needs to work. So there is actually an education piece that needs to be done with the seller. How do you, now there's two parts to it. One is the soft part of it and another one is the technology part of it. So there has to be a piece which comes to saying, how do I sell this? Is there a way I can build a communication, reach out to the audience and say, okay, this is what the whole concept is about. This is how they will benefit from something like this. So they are engaged into the thought of being on a digital commerce piece. Then comes the technology part of it. How simple can that technology be that you are able to do a self-adoption and onboarding part that, as I mentioned. So these are two parts to it that I see. It has to be, it's not one thing. It has a human part to it and there's a machine part to it. So both need to marry together for a better enablement of the solution that we need to put out there.
Yeah, following up on that question, I have another one. Can you provide insights into the current methods of order management for grocery sellers?
So how do I explain current methods of order management? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So there are two ways people are using. There's a POS solution that is being used. There's a mobile-enabled solution that is being used. So both ways, the order is received on a POS pair, POS machine, which the seller then is in this. A POS machine has to be then installed at the seller end. That is the additional hardware work that needs to be taken care of and cost that is there. So they receive that through the POS machine, or they receive POS solution, or they receive it through an app-based solution on a mobile phone, which is there. Mobile phone solutions are more easy to take on and find acceptance than a POS machine that is a long-term hardware, a long-term investment that the person needs to see over there. That is the thing over there. Did I answer that question, Shakti?
I think so. But if somebody who has asked this question, if he is satisfied with this answer, else put across a cross question for Nidhi.
Yeah, you can add a question if it's not clear. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Okay, there are a lot of questions coming in the chat as well. So yeah, I can see. Let me just complete. Let us go through this flow, and maybe we can take up this at the end. So somebody has also asked, what role can data analytics play in optimizing grocery order and inventory management?
See, data analytics is multiple things. I mean, if there's no data analysis, there is absolutely no understanding of whether something is working or not. So it's something put out in the universe out there. If you don't have the data to work on it and look at the improvement part of it, it doesn't work either for the seller or for the seller network participant, or even for the network as overall, whether it is working or not. So it doesn't help us without the data to improve on our gaps that are there and work further on the good things that are happening. So if the data is given to a shopkeeper saying that if you are receiving this order of certain things, you are able to deliver in so much time, he's able to see the seamless process that he's receiving from end to end that is happening, how the order went, how the solution happened. Now, if he's not able to do that, suppose if I say there will be something called open data available on the ONDC network, which will show how many orders of a certain category are being generated in which PIN code. It will go down to a PIN code level, so that you are able to see whether my business in that, if I'm in the PIN code, how am I doing my business right now? Because you'll not be able to see a seller, but you'll be able to see an overall high level information of that business in your PIN code that will help you strategize better for yourself. So if you are saying, I'm a seller in a PIN code, say 110049, which is where I sit here, and I know there are 5 more sellers on ONDC network here. I see that they are selling they're selling biscuits a lot. There's a lot of biscuits being sold, but I am not selling as many as I should be, thinking that it's not. So they say the average sale is about 100 biscuits a week. I sell about 5 or 10 biscuits a week. That's my own analysis that I see, because I'm a seller. I know what I'm selling. I then can do an analysis saying, okay, what is that they have, what I don't have? I mean, I can do a quick survey around in my area because that's the same PIN code, and see what are they selling, and then help improve my assortment, which is there. I see that they sell a shampoo, or let's not say shampoo, let's just say they are selling, say, what do I say? So masala is being sold a lot here. I don't keep that product with me today. Tomorrow, then I see this is happening more. It has a business potential. I add that to my assortment. So obviously, analytics can help a seller a seller NP saying, okay, where are the gaps that are to be filled in? Where are the demand coming in? So I can put in a seller over there. That's how the seller NP can happen. And then there's obviously the buyer app, which is there, which says, okay, there are potentials for demands coming in from somewhere else. Can I also expand to that geography and build more business? So the entire network from end to end can actually use analytics in a very, very good way. And ONDC will be providing that open data in coming months.
For sure, that's an interesting insights. Maybe there's a question on the chat that attracts my attention. So, I guess that's Ajita. Ajita has asked about the ONDC network. It's a very generic question that he has put across. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how the solution would help ONDC directly. Should these solutions be general solutions for the e-commerce, or what should we call like seller apps? Like, how are they supposed to build? They're already saying that certain apps are already built on the network, right?
Yeah.
So are they supposed to build on top of it, or scratch you are expecting scratch new products in terms of like these expectations?
See, I would suggest, because this is a very specific ask activity over here. You've been given two different problem statements that need to be addressed, and that those solutions, successful solutions, I would say, a successful solution still needs to be put out there, which is why the problem statement is still being presented. So my suggestion would be, please focus on the problem statements which have been given here. Don't make it a very generic thing. Your solution can always be expanded to many other things if it works in a certain category, but I would suggest focusing on the category that the problem statement is right now here.
Yeah, people are very keen on finding out the right APIs and SDKs that are already existing, and building on top of it would give them in a situation of a win-win. But we're totally expecting new scratch solutions and not the older ones that are already.
Yeah, I mean, those are there. The way thought of this whole initiative is to find really out there, out the box, innovative solutions that can help solve these challenges that we are facing currently. That's why the looking out to such smart people and talking to everybody out there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for addressing that. Coming up to the next question is, how are there any specific challenges faced by grocery sellers in maintaining accurate inventory records? Can you throw some insights on that? Sorry to interrupt. To help you, get more in-depth understanding about this, maybe he's trying to ask about the challenges that are currently existing, which you are expected them to solve across, so that they can bring and put it together into their products or something like that. Those insights.
See, understand. I will just take an offline example for you, and then I'll try and give you an online part that we are trying to map over here. See, offline, there is a quick count they do when they are doing their inventory management. Okay, they have kind of an idea how much product they have, and then somebody visits them at the store and say, okay, I need 10 more or 5 more or 6 more, whatever the number is, and that's how the order management goes on. There is a informal in your mind or on the back of a paper that they do their numbers that is there. Now, on an online part, there is a more formal way of doing it. You have to be keeping good inventory so that you don't know when the order will come. See, this is where there are some kind of fixed customers who come to your store and order. So there is a cycle that you're aware of. But when you open up on a digital commerce, your orders can be coming from many more people, and you do not know the cycle of the orders that will come in. So if your inventory is not updated, and this inventory needs to be done more formally in a more organized manner, where you have to update and count numbers and put it out there. If that is not there, then the order cancellation gets higher. And that's when the whole buyer app trust on a seller app's trust on a seller entity's trust on a seller becomes a problem that is there. In future, there's going to be ratings also being done for sellers. So if there's a constant cancellation of an order, that means it'll be a low rating coming to a seller. That means the seller discovery will start dropping. So which is why the importance of having somebody do. So there's a behavior change which needs to come in, that I need to do this activity in a different way than I've been doing it today. which is why I keep emphasizing on, the solution needs to be so simple. And there have been these solutions that we've been looking at, an ML solution where you just scan the products and it counts the number of products or captures what the products are. And then you can update the number of details, other missing details. There are lesser number of details that you need to update. So basically, if there are 10 things to be updated, you probably scan it and you're able to update, you need to update 3 things that after that. So that's just being captured by the solution, ML solution, which is being put up there. So these kind of things, which will cut down the number of activities that manually has to be done by an individual, will help in bringing that change that we're looking at. It's a very mindset change. It is a mind block in a person's head saying, what is in it for me? How important is this for me to do it? See, if you see the e-commerce part of it, a store which is selling, even a store which is a modern trade store, like your modern bazaars or Spars of the world, their inventory is very high. The possibility of having inventory not there of a product is kind of low, I would say. But they also cancel orders after you book them for like 6 hours and saying, I don't have the stock. But in a smaller store, this might be a more frequent activity, which would lead to a lot of dissonance with the customer, hence not so beneficial for the seller itself. So for me, it is a very, very critical part of it, but it's a very hard part to change because it's a lot of human thing that you need to change in that part.
True. Agree to that. There's a question in the chat. Before taking up that, there is a similar question that I have with me as well. So we'll address this one and then we'll take up from the chat altogether. How can a solution address the unique requirement of perishable goods in inventory management?
Okay. So basically, fruits and vegetable part of it that we're looking at. It's a tough one to do because perishables have a different cycle that need to work on. There are players like Ninja and all who are doing that piece that they are working on the fruits and vegetables piece alone. And that's how they're managing the timelines of that, how daily delivery has to happen for that product. Because that's the only category in the entire grocery store which will be a daily delivery. It is not weekly, it's not fortnightly kind of delivery, it is a daily delivery that needs to happen. So those inventory management are a little bit more sharper to be managed. Ninja Cart is the best example that I have because I've been interacting with them on that piece that they're looking into making that inventory management the best.
True. So following up to that question, Jasmeet Singh on the chat has asked that he has been working in the fashion domain for an online retail store. Okay. Will it use the contingencies like I don't think that any product related to fashion is perishable? Jasmeet, if that is the question. Then
I'm sorry, I was in a hurry. My question is that if we are working in in the fashion domain in an online retail store, so that would definitely reduce the contingency because the goods is not perishable. To what degree does it is profitable as compared to groceries? Because we can't predict the demand. Maybe groceries would be more profitable. So that's the question. I'm sorry, I just got late and
no problem.
I was in a hurry.
Okay, I'll try and understand the question. I'm sorry, I'm trying to connect the two pieces from the fashion to perishables here.
If not done, Nidhi, we can take up this question at the later end.
Okay, just if you can rephrase your question and share it, and then I will try and address it again.
Yeah, sure. I'll do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmeet. Okay, we've got a couple of more questions for order management, then we'll switch on to the onboarding sellers. How can the solution ensure minimal disruption during the transition to digital medium for grocery sellers? And a similar question is also in the chat.
What which is? You can read that also?
So we'll take up that a little later. Okay. Maybe you can address this.
So, see, there's no minimal. That's the whole thing that I've been trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
The solution needs to be so easy to take on. And that's the challenge, that is the biggest challenge. We have had people who have been trying ML, people have been trying easy to calculate. As they said, okay, don't forget, don't do inventory management. Just be able to do it once a day, kind of a thing. So there are different ways of doing. This is why we're looking at you guys to find me a solution that will help us build something which is the least disruptive in the day-to-day life of a person. Think of yourself as a grocery store owner who's a single owner. You're the one who has to take care of the offline customers. You have to take care of the online customers. You have to pack the goods. You have to keep them ready. I'm not talking about delivery part of it. You also have to keep a track of your orders that you have to book for your when the sales consultant comes from a different brands, different wholesalers and distributors. So you have to do all these activities. So when you're doing 20, 50 activities in a day, what is the way that you will make him see or say, okay, I have 15 minutes in my hand during the day. How do I do my inventory management for my online orders? What's the easiest way to do this part of it? And that's what we would like to see. So the best solution, the best thing I would say, one of the things that I would suggest, not the best thing, but I would say one of the things that I would suggest is when you're thinking of these solutions, go spend some time at a kirana store, few kirana stores for that matter. Go talk to them. Then see what is their daily routine. How do they start their day? What's the busiest hour for them? How do they manage delivery also? Because many stores still deliver. It's not as if they're not delivering, but there are different ways. How are they receiving orders today? If they're not transacting on a digital commerce, but WhatsApp calls are a common way of receiving orders today also. How are they receiving those orders? How are they preparing those deliveries? Does somebody come and deliver from somewhere else? Do they send Danzos to pick up the orders and deliver, or they have one boy who runs around these errands to do the delivery? So my thing would be, when you're thinking of a solution like that, please do put yourself in their shoes and see what is happening in their daily life in the store. Then you will know, okay, he has 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to update inventory, and how do he receive order which is easiest for him. And then you'll be able to say, okay, if this is a time period that he has this window, maybe twice a day he has a window, can he update an inventory in the easiest, simplest way that is possible? So put yourself in his shoes. Do not think of the solution from outside. Think it from the inside out. So spend some time at the kirana stores. I visited kirana stores in 4 different cities, and trust me, it's been an eye opener how different life is at different types of kirana stores. So make that effort. It will help you solve it in a much better way than you will do it sitting on your computers to do it.
Right, true that. We had a almost similar question in the chat, and I hope that has been addressed now through Nidhi. I have another question in the chat that I think we should address, because it is with reference to what you have spoken before.
Yeah.
So PK has asked, if one area has too many of similar kind of sellers, example, all of them are selling the biscuits, how will ONDC help the sellers if they start undercutting each other's costings and pricings? Is there a solution that we need to look into?
No, I don't think so. There'll be an undercutting. Why would they undercut? See, there is a MRP that is there on the product. There is a price that is being delivered. When I say, if I look for today's, now let's just look at today. When we look for a product, when we search by product, we have a listing that is shown to us. There are different prices that are there. Some might give an offer. See, at some point, you have to optimize your business. You can't constantly keep undercutting each other, because that is not going to be beneficial for anybody. There has to be a limit. There has to be a barrier where it says no more cutting that can happen. But then if you go back to selling at a different price point or a different higher price point, then you start disrupting yourself again. So it is very difficult for us as ONDC to control this. This is a very business-led decision by the seller that has to be done. What is best that they can sell at? What is their business requirement? And how does that business make sense? We are just giving a tool for them to reach out to a much larger audience in a simpler way that today they don't find that solution. They want to sell. I mean, very few people might have said, okay, I'm not used to, and they're also the reason why they don't want to do it, because they think in their head that it's a very, very difficult task a lot of unlearning and new learning needs to be done there to become a digital commerce enabled shopkeeper. So that is where I think the mind block sits. It's not about not wanting to sell on e-commerce, but the challenge of changing yourself is a bigger part that happens. So I don't think so that will be the way around. ONDC doesn't have any direct say or a control over doing that. It's about up to a person who does the business the best way. What is the best way to sell their product? A long answer to a small statement. ONDC will not impact it.
No problem. That actually answers to a lot of other questions that people might have and are hesitating to put it across on the chat sometimes. But going forward, so there's another question. Are there specific scalability consideration for grocery inventory management solutions that we are looking into?
Sorry, say again. Are there any
specific scalability consideration for a grocery inventory management solution that we are looking into and expecting as a solution?
Scalability constraints. The scalability constraint is basically how does it stay consistently usable? That is what we have seen. There are some solutions which were enabled by many different players. I mean, it's been very interesting journey in last 7-8 months that I've been on this one, that there are so many players who have tried and created solutions but have not been able to scale it, because I think a lot of them just sat in their rooms and created a solution. You need to be there, test it with the person who's going to use it actually, and make that happen. So if you start working with the person who's going to use it, I think you might just find a different way of solutioning that will come forward. So there has been a challenge on scalability of that part of it, but I don't think so we should block ourselves and saying, is there a problem that it's a problem, we need to solve it. So break those barriers and solve that problem that we have over there.
For sure. Thank you for addressing those questions. Due to time constraint, let's just move ahead with the other problem statement and those questions. And maybe if you find time, then we can pick up questions again from the chat box. So let's discuss questions about ordering sellers. The first and the former question, there's a similar question in the chat I've read through, is talking about the onboarding process. How can it be simplified for sellers to complete independently?
Okay, so there are people who have created application, which is a self-onboarding process. Okay, it's like creating a shopfront on a digital platform that is there. So they have a thing where they will do the KYC, you fill in your details, upload the information, the documents that you need to do the KYC. Then they already have a catalog part of it in the category that you want to be opening the shopfront, the storefront on the application be. You download the catalog for that category and then update the inventory and the price on it. So it's a 6-day journey, 6 to 10 days journey, I would say, in which a person can self-onboard themselves. So this is one solution that I have come across that is there. And this is where these are the steps. There has to be a KYC done. How do we get a KYC done, which is a self KYC, that part you can do. A lot of people are used to now through the UPI or Paytm part of it that you can do yourself KYC. So understanding what is the challenge on the KYC part of it. Second part is the your store online. So ONDC has created something called Catalog as a Service. It's a tool that is there on ONDC, which will have the category catalogs available free of cost for every seller to download and create their own shop on the network, get their assortment done, update the price and inventory on it, and go live with that. So this is a possibility that is there. So there are tools which are available on ONDC that you can use, and there are pieces that need to be created by the solution thinkers out here. So if you can connect these pieces, one should be able to kind of onboard themselves seamlessly. Language and voice. If it's possible to use AI in onboarding yourself, can that be part of it? These are tools that you can probably think. These are the things that I've come across in my interaction with different people. AI has been used for KYC also. So it's a speech thing that you do. There's an interaction, there's a bot which helps you kind of get your details in, and update the information for you, because if you're not used to uh, typing in and understanding, so there is a voice part that you can definitely use. Just quickly, I'll answer, is the catalog as service live? Can we access it? It is not live right now, but in coming couple of weeks, you should be able to access it. That was a question that just popped up on my screen, so I just quickly
No worries, no worries. Thank you so much for addressing that quickly.
Yeah.
Similar question that I asked you, Nidhi. I have a follow-up question on the chat. So he's asking about if you can throw some lights on the KYC process, because small kirana store sellers and vegetable shop sellers, they don't actually have a GST, you know.
So GST is one part of it. There are a lot of other details that are available. You have your Aadhaar, you have your PAN card, you have other details which are in individual KYC that is to be done. Your bank details need to be there because that's where the payment will go into. And then there are certain things depending on what is so GST is not a mandatory thing for everybody. You have to be selling over 20 lakhs per annum, making sales of 20 lakhs per annum to be for a requirement for a GST. So a very small seller, the GST is not a mandatory thing. Also, GST is needed if it's an intra-state sale that is happening. So in that case, if you're even selling less than 20 lakh, you have to have a GST. If it's just a hyper-local solution that needs to be worked for a seller which is less than 20 lakhs, it is not mandatory to have a GST, but there are other things that we are working on to how to make sure that this is enabled. So this doesn't become a stumbling block for them. So where GST is available, the KYC, what we are looking into say is, can we connect this information from the ministry so the KYC gets automated? So you put in the GST number and the rest of it is automated. That could be a solution that could be looked into, so that you don't have to keep chasing the seller to get the rest of the documents that are needed, because the bank details and other information is already connected to your GST number that is there. Where it is not there, that is where the challenge comes, that you need to have these details. They don't have, sometimes they forget the Aadhaar card, sometimes they forget to give you the bank details. So connecting all that takes 4 to 5 days, which could be crunched into a single day thing. So look at this solution as, can I crunch the KYC? You could think about what could be the other ways of finding the KYC process easy. That could be a thing that you can explore. How do I get the KYC? Can it be like a gamified solution? Does it make sense for them to be more fun rather than a tedious activity that they have to be doing over there? So what is the other processes? What are the other solutions that could be looked into, which could then, you could feed into us saying, okay, this is a solution that can be built on. It is not there, but I need this activity that is a bigger policy process, or it is a requirement from the government that we need to work on. Then the ONDC can take in and step in to work on that part also. So for example, GST linking information KYC from the ministry is something that we work on, saying, okay, how do we enable that on the network? So if somebody puts in a detail on the network for the GST, the KYC of that seller is enabled then quickly. That is something that we can work on.
Sure, that answers. Also, here's an additional last question to it is, it simply means that they can onboard such sellers to their network, right?
Yes.
Perfect. I guess that's answered. That's the answer to your question. Adding up to that, so are there any specific regulatory or compliance issues affecting the onboarding process that needs to be addressed at the moment?
See, the compliance part, okay, breaking in two parts. One is the KYC part of it. If your documentation is not complete, obviously you cannot do the KYC, hence the seller cannot be made live on the network. The regulatory part is that your catalog needs to be complete. You need to have a catalog, otherwise the onboarding is incomplete for the seller. So two parts of it that needs to be done is the KYC and the catalog has to be complete for a seller to be said they are onboarding. And then of course the understanding of how the seller panel works, how to receive an order, update an order, complete an order, deliver an order. Those are the other steps that you need to, but that's a training part of it. But before that, the two steps that have to be definitely done is the KYC and the catalog.
I have another quick question to that. Can you throw some insights on the current onboarding process? And if you're facing any challenges into that?
So different network participants have used different processes. We also use feet on street to go and educate sellers, explain to them what ONDC is, which seller network participant, how they're going to help them, what is going to be the process for them to onboard, how will they receive an order, how does it work. So there's been feet on street, which has been also used extensively supported by ONDC. Then there have been some people who have had their own feet on street, which has gone to different sellers to onboard. So a lot of support has been on a human side, which is having first a set of people going and explaining, educating people, and then taking them through the whole process of how to use the seller panel, downloading the application, usage training, of the text buying and selling part of it, ordering part of it, a fulfillment part of it that has happened, and then of course going live. So from staging to live, that is a process that a seller FP works on.
Yes. Thanks for addressing that. We also just requesting everyone who has joined us today. We are currently addressing questions related to onboarding sellers. If you have similar questions in your head, or you're stuck somewhere, please feel free to put it on the chat so that we can get those addressed by Nidhi.
I just saw a question on a non-branded product catalog.
Yes.
A part of it is being worked on, but because it's a non-branded product, it is something that we can also look into being done by the seller. So as a seller network solution, you can actually add to the cache that is there. So it is not restricted for ONDC to put a data over there. So if I'm a seller, there is a product which I need to sell, which is not available on the cache solution that is there. I can create that part of the catalog, upload it into cache, and that could be used by many other people, or I can use it myself also. So you can actually put data onto cache that you can use yourself and share it with the network that is possible. So the solution cache is not restricted only for ONDC to use. Cache is for the network. So as a solution provider, you can also think about creating a catalog and uploading it on the cache that can be used by the network.
Sure. Thank you so much for addressing that. So people are raising hands also. Okay, we will quickly get 2-3 more questions addressed, and then we'll open up 10 minutes for the chats.
Okay.
How can the cost of digitization of store catalog be reduced for sellers if we are talking about catalogs now? So if you can help us with that.
So what we're trying to do is we're talking to brands, the CPG companies or FMCG companies that they are known as. We are talking to them to send us their catalog into the cache solution, and they will be responsible for updating their catalog itself, which means no seller has to then create catalog individually for themselves on this one. So there's one part that gets addressed. Then the other one is the non-branded part that is there, as you asked for. In that also, there are people who are willing to create that solution and monetize that part of it. Or you can give a solution in the whole inventory order management application that you're going to create, that you can create a catalog, upload it, and that is available for these people to use. So there are multiple ways. We're trying to see what is the most optimal way of getting the data, a maximum data available for people to use from, so that you don't have to go creating it, which should end up reducing the cost for individual players that are there.
Sure, definitely. People are mostly talking about the catalog part of it. So are there any specific industry standards or protocols that need to be adhered in catalog digitization?
Unfortunately, there are no protocols out there. So there is a taxonomy that has been created by ONDC. That taxonomy needs to be followed. You need to make sure that the information provided there is authentic and clear. But there is no standard or protocols for cataloging per se across in the industry.
Sure, thanks for addressing that, Nidhi. There's a different question related to the onboarding here. Trying to understand the current process. So are there any specific type of sellers that are facing difficulties in the onboarding process, or is it equally equalized? So for example, there are a set of Kirana stores who have a higher revenue models, right? The set of Kirana stores who does not have a GST number, or maybe that sort of. So are there some specific challenges, if you can add those?
So I'll give you a little background how the categories is defined. There's a category. This category is defined as modern trade, which is where the stores are already kind of digitized. They have a digital inventory. They have a digital POS system for billing and ordering that is there. So your stores like Spar, Modern Bazaar, name something from the south of India. I don't know. D-Mart, your D-Marts, your Reliance Marts, etc. These are called modern trades. Your roadside, your corner, small little store, which is completely done on a piece of paper, is called a general trade. The challenge lies a lot with the general trade that is there. General trade sells in very, very different ways than the modern trade sells. General trade, you will have people even opening up bigger packages and selling by smaller quantities from that. So how do you do inventory management for something which was for 5 kilos is being sold as half of kg, 250 grams from the big 5 kilo bag that is there. So that is where the challenge for those people is much, much higher than the modern trade formats which is there. So what we are trying to do is called digitizing the general trade. So we have a new category called DGT. And then there is the D2C, which is your e-commerce sites that each of the brands have on their own. So D2C, direct to consumer, which is from their own dark stores or distributors that they sell directly to consumers. So your U-shops, ITC stores, those things which are sold directly to the consumer. So these are 3 general categories that are there. Fourth one which we are creating is the digitalized general trade, the most challenging part and the largest population out there that needs to be addressed.
Sure, thanks for addressing that, Nidhi. So due to time constraint, it's just 8 minutes for us. So we'll pick up a few questions from the chat so that we do not go haywire for those questions that these guys have put across. So I'll pick up a few and maybe we can address that and close today's session. We request everybody whose questions are not addressed, we get us through offline. We'll get those addressed by Nidhi and the team, and we'll send across a specific answer to it. So maybe I'll pick up small questions. If you find something interesting on your end, maybe you can let us know as well, Nidhi.
So some of the successful solutions I would say on the network, apart from CAS, there is an RSP and a grievance management, which is already enabled on the network. So reconciliation and settlement, which is already there. So with sellers that they have to worry about their money being sent into some kind of a black hole is not there. Grievance management for a consumer is already sorted out. There are people who are addressing that. So those are things which are the basic guardrails of an e-commerce setup is in place, including the catalog and service that I mentioned. So there are solutions available for a good governing e-commerce on ONDC that is already enabled for such kind of businesses.
Is that the similar question I was supposed to ask? Is from Hitesh Jain. Will ONDC save user information details whenever one transaction happens on a buyer's platform?
No. ONDC says nothing. ONDC is a protocol. We just enable things. We don't have any consumer data. We don't have any seller data. We have no interaction with the consumer or the seller. There is a seller app, seller network participant who onboards a seller, who will have the seller data because they have to do the KYC part of it. And they are the business contract with the seller over there. On the other side, it's the buyer who speaks to the buyer app like Paytm, Pin Code, and My Store, and Magic Pin, etc., which is like how we use our current applications for ordering. Those are the people who do that part of it. Between the buyer and seller, we have nothing to do. We have no idea who are the sellers on that side or who are the buyers on this side. We only interact with the buyer apps and the seller app network, buyer apps and seller network participants. That's seller apps, which is just that. So we have no access to consumer data at all. In fact, we don't have a sales data also. We request this information from the network participants for us to work on the open data.
Prakash has a question for you. So he's saying we are sharing customer data with sellers. Is it legal? Is it good for a consumer safety perspective?
So today also, when you request for, when you order something, your basic details information is sent, which is your name and address and phone number. That's exactly what will go for the seller for delivery also. So again, there'll be a logistics network participant, a logistics partner. If the seller is using on-network logistics, that person will also need to receive the same information to pick up the order and deliver. So they will receive the seller details, they will receive the buyer details to pick up the order from the seller and deliver it to the buyer. So those basic information which are shared, your name, phone number, and address is the same thing that will be shared between any participant over here.
So I have a question. How do you foresee emerging technologies like AI, ML addressing these challenges? He's trying to, get your perspective about these latest trends and technologies.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very, very keen to see how these things work. I've seen some demos of AI solutions. I've seen some demos of ML solutions, and to be very honest, I believe technology is just a conduit to getting what is there. So as long as you're able to grasp the challenge that needs to be addressed, I believe technology is unlimited that you can work on. Whatever you want to find as a solution, as long as it solves the problem, I'm really happy to look at it. Go out and try everything.
Absolutely. Siddharth is also asking about where are the KYC requirement listed for seller registrations? If you can
So that will KYC requirements. We don't have them at our end as such, because every seller network participant has their own KYC that they kind of hold. So since we don't hold any data, if it is something that is critical to your planning on that one, maybe we can check how we should share that information, that list of that requirement that is there. We can probably look at that.
For sure. I hope, Siddharth, that answers to your question. But I guess we have covered up all of those questions that have come across to the chat across to my questions putting across. There are more coming in. Apps like Uber, Zomato try to hide the contact details by virtualizing customers' phone number, given that the seller is not supported to call the customer for fulfilling the order.
So it could be that way. What they do is they have a link between where the say the rider calls through a certain number where he doesn't have the consumer's direct number, but they're connected to the mobile number. So that could be a solution where you're masking the mobile number or the phone number, contact details, but it goes through a solution where I don't know what is the solution called, basically, where you, like for instance, if I'm trying to reach to my driver or for an Uber or for any mobility service, I have a landline number which connects me to the driver when I call from the app. It could be something similar that is looked into. There's a solution that you call when you're trying to reach the customer, you call through the app then connects you to the consumer where you don't have a direct access to the consumer data that is there. That could be a great thing to look into, yes. But address and name has to be shared, because without that, where is the poor person supposed to reach?
Absolutely. But yeah, thank you so much for addressing all of those questions. So if you have more questions for us, Anubhav has put across a question at the end, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, he has put across this question. We have addressed this, Anubhav, before. You might have joined us late. So he's asking, there is an already existing inventory app available in the ONDC seller app SDK. Will adding the problem statement expected requirements to it will be considered as a quality solutions to the hackathon?
See, if the solution is there for you to use and you can enhance it, why not use it? By all means, the solution has been put out by ONDC to work with it and use it and make it better. Why not? I mean, there's no restriction it's a solution being put out by ONDC. We have put it out there for participants and future technology solution providers to use it, make it better. Absolutely, go ahead and work with it.
Okay, there's another question related to the fashion industry. We'll take up this last final question. If I register as a startup and develop a seller app for a specific category, example fashion, where I utilize my technology or solutions to onboard sellers to ONDC. Does this qualify as next gen venture solutions? Or should my startup focus on assisting all seller app with technology to qualify?
Let me come back to you on this one. I don't think so there should be an issue on this because it's solving for a problem statement. As long as it addresses the problem statement which is mentioned over here, I don't think so category should be a problem, but let me come back on this one to confirm.
For sure. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Special thank you to you for addressing all of those questions. For further questions, we'll roll out another feedback email to you so that you can put across your questions that I've left across, or you can reach out to us through our Discord server or write us on the email that is mentioned on the website altogether. But thank you so much, Nidhi, for throwing those insights on those questions and helping us understand more about those problem statements. It was
If
great.
something is left behind, please share that with us. We'll send back the answers that it can be shared with the group.
Definitely will do that. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And we'll see you on the other side of this whole solutioning thing.
Yeah, all the best, everyone. I am looking for some really kick-ass solutions because this is a big challenge that we're trying to address. So all the best, think hard, meet people, meet the Kirana store owners, understand what challenges them, understand from consumer what will they take to have this solution being provided to them. So think from a consumer point of view, both Kirana and the consumer who's going to buy, and I'm sure you'll come up with something really good. All the best.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you around soon on the other AMA sessions. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, Rakesh Pandey, 1 second. Yeah, thank you so much.